Connolly for 5 minutes.
Thank you, and welcome, Director Comey. And although our politics are different, I gather you're a Republican. Is that correct?
I have been registered Republican for most of my adult life.
All right.
I'm not registered any longer.
We don't register by party in Virginia, but many have suspected my politics as being Democratic. And I thank you for your integrity. As my colleague said, and I said in my opening statement, your career has been characterized as speaking truth to power. And you're doing it again today. Just to set the context, Director Comey, not that you're unaware of this, today's hearing is political theater. There's not even the pretense of trying to get at the truth. This is a desperate attempt under an extraordinary set of circumstances, an emergency hearing. I don't know what the emergency is other than one side is about to nominate somebody who is a pathological narcissist who, is talking about banning Muslims and Mexicans crossing the border who are all rapists and women who are pigs, and terrified at the consequences of that in the election. So let's grab onto whatever we can to discredit or try to discredit the other nominee, putative nominee. And you took away their only hope. And so the theater today is actually trying to discredit you. Subtly, in some cases. My friend from South Carolina uses big words like exculpatory and kind of goes through what a prosecutor would do. The insinuation being, you didn't do your job. My friend from Wyoming is apparently flooded with citizens in her home state who are reading the statute that governs classification. A lot of time on the hands back there, I guess, but yeah, this is all designed to discredit your finding. Now, the FBI interviewed Secretary Clinton, is that correct?
Yes.
Did she lie to the FBI in that interview?
I have no basis for concluding that she was untruthful with us.
And is it a crime to lie to the FBI?
Yes, it is.
David Petraeus did lie to the FBI.
Yes. Yes.
And he was prosecuted for that. Well, could have been.
Could have been, was not for that.
Right. That's always a judgment call.
Correct.
Was she evasive?
I don't think the agents assessed she was evasive.
How many emails are we talking about, total, universe, that were examined by your team?
Tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands. And how many are in a questionable category that maybe coulda, shoulda been looked at more carefully because there could be some element of classification? Apparently my friend from North Carolina assumes we're all intimately familiar with the fact that if a C appears, it means a classification, though there seems to be some dispute about that because the State Department, as I understand it, has actually said some of those were improperly marked and shouldn't have had the C. Aware of that?
Yes.
Yes. So could it be that in her 100 overseas trips to 100 countries, as Secretary of State trying to restore U.S. credibility that had been destroyed in the previous 8 years overseas, and tens of thousands of email communications, not including phone calls and classified conversation and SCIFs and the like, that maybe the small percentage of emails she didn't pay as much attention to them as maybe, in retrospect, one would hope she would have. Is that a fair conclusion? Could that be a fair conclusion?
I don't usually deal in maybes. It's possible.
Well, you do deal in distinguishing between willful and inadvertent.
Sure.
And in this case, you concluded it has to be in the latter category. It wasn't willful.
We concluded there was not adequate evidence of willful conduct.
Right. So there's no obfuscation here, unlike the Petraeus case. And there's no evasion. There's no lying. There's no willful intent to compromise classified material, despite the insinuations of my friends on the other side of the aisle. And the only hope left in this political theater is to discredit you and your team in the hopes that, therefore, you won't have credibility and we can revisit this monstrous crime of using a private server, that server being the server of the former President of the United States, that maybe Mrs. Clinton thought would be more secure than the leaky system at the State Department. I yield back.
Now I recognize the gentleman from